On the Chi-Chi Festival, I finally managed to persuade Luna to go with me to the couple's restaurant I had been looking forward to for a long time to celebrate the festival. Just after we ordered the food, Julian's call came in. "You are more mature than him, he's gotten into some trouble. I'll go and be back soon." Luna hurriedly left these words and then left. This is the 10th year of our relationship. Today is our 10th anniversary. I waited from day to night. Even when the restaurant closed, I still didn't wait for her. I'm tired, I choose to let go. This internet-famous restaurant really lives up to its reputation. Both the environment and the food are beyond reproach. It took me several days of staking out to successfully make a reservation, but at this moment, no matter how delicious the food is, it has lost its taste. Today is a special Chi-Chi festival plan, and the restaurant is filled with pairs of lovers. They all have happy smiles on their faces. Only I, dining alone, seem out of place. I can only lower my head and fiddle with my phone, trying to cover up this embarrassment. When scrolling through my WeChat moments, I saw a new post just published by Julian. Fortunately, there is always someone willing to tolerate my immaturity. The accompanying pictures are 2 photos of him and Luna. One is a group photo taken at graduation, and the other is obviously a new photo taken today. It's really a catching. I don't know why, but I suddenly don't care anymore. It's good, they really do match well. They are worthy of the reputation of the golden boy and jade girl in the School of Design back then. I once thought that I could wait until Luna belonged to me wholeheartedly. I was just too sluggish. I turned off my phone and didn't want to look at it anymore. There are 86 people in front of me in the queue, and the estimated waiting time is 45 minutes. It's harder to hail a taxi in the city center on Chi-Chi Festival than to climb to the sky. It suddenly started to rain, and it became even harder to get home, but even the taxi hailing app honestly told me the waiting time I needed. Luna couldn't do that. She always gave me hope and told me she would come back, but I never waited for her. Just like today, I waited until the restaurant closed, and she still didn't show up. And she still didn't forget to send a message saying that she had driven the car away and asked me to take a taxi home by myself. Of course, there were also those explanations and reports that would never be absent. Julian doesn't feel well. I can only feel at ease after sending him home. Honey, go to bed early. She's not unaware of how difficult it is to get home on a rainy Chi-Chi night, but she can send Julian home. Yet, she doesn't want to come back and send me home just because I'm more mature and more obedient than Julian. Luna often said that what she liked most about me was my maturity and obedience. Every time at this moment, she would always add, unlike Julian, who has been spoiled since childhood, but she's wrong. Maturity doesn't come naturally. No matter how mature a person is, they don't want to be mature and sensible all the time. I hate it most when she compares me with Julian. Comparison means that she is choosing, weighing, and hovering between me and Julian. Although every time she says that I'm better than Julian, she never chooses me. I finally got into the car. Looking at the gorgeous night view of the city outside the window, I suddenly realized that I didn't seem to be so sensitive to Julian's existence anymore. We used to quarrel endlessly because of him, but in the past few months, everything has been unusually quiet. I don't know when the name Julian is no longer a sharp blade that pierces my heart. Just like today, I can calmly accept Luna's sudden departure, and even at the moment I saw the WeChat moments, my heart didn't stir at all. I'm tired. I should have let go a long time ago. I picked up my phone and sent a message to Luna. Luna, let's break up. For a long time, she didn't reply. I smiled self-deprecatingly. Yeah, after all, Julian is by her side. How could she be distracted and care about me? When I got home, I casually threw my bag on the sofa. The gift inside accidentally slipped out. It was a videotape in which was sealed the video of Luna promising to marry me 10 years later. Coincidentally, this Chi-Chi festival is also the 10th anniversary of our relationship. I stared at that videotape for a long time and finally threw it into the trash can. A gift that can't be given loses its original meaning. Looking around in this so-called home, there aren't actually many traces left by me. I bought this property 2 years ago. At that time, Luna's studio was just getting started, and the funds were very tight. The decoration was all about simplicity. Although she is a designer, she still came to me with a bunch of design sketches, hoping that the decoration would have a sense of design. The busyness of the studio made her unable to spare any more time. In desperation, the burden of the decoration fell on my shoulders. According to her design drawings, I had to maintain her style and also be careful with the budget and not exceed it. In order to save money, I ran around everywhere for a sofa. I visited several furniture markets and finally found one that was discounted by thousands of yuan. I tried to buy things online as much as possible, and I never asked others to do what I could do myself. After half a year, this home finally took shape. On the day we moved into the new house, Luna invited Julian to have a dinner party at home. I was overjoyed because this was the first time I welcomed guests as the host in my and Luna's home, and he was the guest. However, I didn't expect that the first words Julian said when he stepped into the house were, "Luna, the style of this cabinet is wrong. I've seen the works of the original designer. Yours, the height is obviously not right. Why did you choose such a cabinet? It's really tacky." I looked at the storage cabinet that I had spent 2 days assembling with great effort and was at a loss for words for a moment. This cabinet was indeed bought online, but many styles on the market are more or less the same, and I simply couldn't tell the authenticity. Luna took Julian's coat and said indifferently, "He has no taste. It's normal that the decoration is tacky. Indeed, my aesthetic taste can't be compared with Julian's, who has won many design awards. I only knew that this cabinet was designed to be tall, which was convenient for Luna, who often had a backache, to store things. After that cabinet was moved to the corner and gradually covered with dust. Just like me, in Luna's world, it seems that I can only always stay in the corner, unknown and covered in dust. After packing my luggage, I found that there were actually only clothes in one suitcase, fewer than the luggage when I moved out of the dormitory after graduating from university. I glanced at my phone, and the time had quietly slipped to 1 o'clock. In the morning, Luna still hadn't come home, and she didn't reply to the message either. It turns out that the days I thought I had been through thick and thin with Luna were just my one-man show. She doesn't care, and she doesn't want it either. I dragged my suitcase downstairs, ready to take a taxi and leave, but I found that I had nowhere to go. While I was hesitating whether to go back, I suddenly caught a glimpse of Luna's figure. She wasn't alone. In the hazy night, the lights in the community were faintly visible. I clearly saw 2 figures enter the elevator. At this time, there's no need to think twice. It must be Julian. Looking at my phone again, Luna's message finally came. "I'm tired. I don't want to argue with you tonight. That's all." The slightest thought of staying for one more night in my heart also vanished into thin air. I dragged my suitcase and wandered downstairs alone. After wandering around for almost 20 minutes, the security guard of the community came over with a flashlight. "Mr. Lucas, did you forget your keys? Why don't you call your family to pick you up? It's not safe to be outside at this hour." There was a bit of concern in the security guard's words. The security guard knows how to care about me, but Luna doesn't care at all. In fact, I really have nowhere to go. After graduating from university, for Luna's sake, I refused several very tempting job opportunities and gave up the chance to stay in a prosperous city. I followed her to a strange city. As the environment changed, my former friends also drifted apart. Tears finally couldn't help falling. I'm not crying because Luna is bad, but crying for myself. I'm crying for myself. I'm clearly full of anger, and I should have realized that something was wrong long ago, but I always lacked the courage to leave. In those years, everyone advised me not to be a rebound guy. The things between Luna and Julian had already spread everywhere. It's just that I was too naive. I always thought that time could change everything and that long-term company could finally surpass her old love. 10 years, a full 10 years. In these 10 years, I accompanied her out of the haze of Julian's sudden departure, accompanied her to repair her relationship with her family, and even accompanied her to build her own design studio step by step. Now, Luna is the founder of a well-known design studio in the industry, and I should have been her fiancée. Up at the home that once belonged to us, and the lights had quietly gone out. Perhaps all of this is just a dream. When the dream wakes up, it's time to face the reality. Just as I was going to find a hotel nearby to stay temporarily, my WeChat messages vibrated a few times. "Lucas, I know you and Luna must be all lovey-dovey together on Chi-Chi Festival. It's really inappropriate for me to bother you at this time. However, I don't even expect to see you. I just want to ask if you have any recommendations for delicious food in Jiang. I'm on a business trip here right now." These were the messages sent by Gabriel, my best buddy from university days. Back then, it was he who strongly opposed my being with Luna. He even threatened that if I insisted on it, he would sever our brotherhood. At that time, I thought his reaction was excessive. It was just a relationship. Was it really necessary? But now that I think about it, his intuition was incredibly accurate. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and replied to him with a message. "Can you put me up for one night?" As soon as the message was sent, there was a commotion on his end. "What's going on? Did you have a fight with Luna? I've always said that Luna is unreliable." "You wait, I'll come down and pick you up right away. Meet me at Wanting Hotel." As soon as we met, Gabriel didn't hold back and started scolding me. "Where's Luna? She left you alone, dragging a suitcase on the street at night. Didn't you say you were going to get married? Where is she? No wonder. I haven't seen you show your affection this year. I told you long ago that you have to be good at judging people. Luna is just unreliable. You just didn't believe me and insisted on getting involved." He was right. Every word hit the mark. Seeing that my eyes were red again, he finally stopped blaming Luna and gave me a firm hug. Not being serious for long, Gabriel started to playfully pinch my arm and laughed loudly. "Lucas, you've been living a pretty comfortable life. You've even gained some weight." "No way," I retorted stubbornly. But in my heart, I knew that I hadn't worked much in recent years and had been staying at home all day, so my body had indeed put on some weight. In contrast, although Gabriel was busy with work and often traveled around, he had maintained an excellent figure and was obviously a regular at the gym. Now, he had become a department manager of a large enterprise, exuding an air of confidence and an elite demeanor. I looked down at my sorry state and couldn't help but secretly envy him. When I opened my eyes, it was already noon the next day. After staying up all night with me to bitterly criticize Luna, Gabriel finally went out to deal with his work. Looked at the series of records of Luna's missed calls on my phone, let out a soft sigh, and pressed the redial button. The waiting time seemed to be stretched infinitely long. Finally, the call was connected. "Where are you?" "My mom is coming over tonight. I'll come and pick you up." Her voice still sounded calm, as if all the disputes from yesterday had never happened. I smiled bitterly in my heart. Was she going to pretend that nothing had happened? Did she turn a blind eye to the breakup message I sent her, or was she so blind-hearted that she couldn't understand it? I had originally thought that she would call to explain, but unexpectedly, it was to ask me to accompany her mother. "Luna, we broke up." My tone was firm and beyond doubt. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone, and even the breathing seemed to become heavy just because I didn't have dinner with you last night. I already said that Julian wasn't feeling well, and I was delayed because I sent him home. There was a hint of impatience in her tone. "Yeah," I replied indifferently. "If it's because of Julian, you also know how important he is to the studio now. Without him, we can't get those big projects." "Yeah, Lucas, don't threaten me with a breakup. This isn't the way to solve the problem. I'm not threatening you, and I'm not making a fuss. I'm serious about the breakup." I repeated it. Perhaps my calmness exceeded her expectations, and her tone softened. "Don't be like this. You're so mature and the most sensible. After sending my mom off tonight, we can go to that restaurant you like and have a good talk." "Okay, Luna, you can ask Julian to accompany your mom. After all, your mom has always thought that he's more suitable for you, right?" I sneered and hung up the phone before she could reply. Next to me, Gabriel, who had somehow come back, looked at me with an expression of, "You've finally seen the light." We both had similar dark circles under our eyes and smiled at each other. There was no need for words. Gabriel put his arm around my shoulder and started planning my single life for me. "Do you want to go to the class reunion?" he asked. I was a bit hesitant. I had hardly made any progress in these years and was afraid of facing my former classmates. Gabriel saw my concerns and started his long-winded persuasion. After a long speech, I finally nodded in agreement. "Lucas, I'm afraid you don't know this yet." Gabriel smiled and poked my arm, saying, "Ava, the girl who almost became your girlfriend back then, was just beating around the bush asking me if you would go." He continued to babble about Ava's current achievements, saying that she had risen to become a top player in the market, a client that everyone coveted, while Luna's studio was still struggling to climb up. But Ava was already a leader in the industry with more projects than she could handle, and she was still single. I shook my head and interrupted Gabriel's next words. "So, she's not stupid. How could she take a fancy to me now?" I looked at myself in the mirror, tired and lifeless, and let out a sigh. Even I don't like myself like this, let alone others. The day of the class reunion was set for the next day. Due to the long journey, when Gabriel and I arrived, the reunion was almost coming to an end. To my surprise, Luna was also there. I quickly grabbed Gabriel, who was about to step forward and argue, and motioned for him not to do so. Luna had always been the center of attention at gatherings. But this time, Julian, who was standing side by side with her, was equally eye-catching. The atmosphere at the scene froze instantly when Gabriel and I appeared. The eyes of everyone shifted back and forth among the three of us. Luna stood up, seemingly wanting to introduce me to everyone, but Julian stepped in first. "It's Lucas. When Luna and I left home, we were still discussing whether to invite you along." There was a hint of provocation in his words. So, Julian had already moved in so quickly. No wonder. Luna probably had long wanted me to move out to make room for Julian. I ignored their presence and greeted the other classmates with a smile. "Long time no see." Everyone soon sensed the change in the atmosphere and warmly greeted me one after another, tacitly avoiding the previous delicate atmosphere. As the conversation deepened, the originally unfamiliar relationship among the classmates quickly warmed up, and they naturally formed several small groups. Those former classmates who had spent their youthful years together sat in a circle, with laughter and the clinking of glasses resounding one after another. Maxwell, who was once famous for skipping classes and failing exams, had now turned into a civil servant and was serving as a section chief in his hometown. His achievements were really impressive. Ethan had continued his studies all the way from a master's degree to a doctorate, and finally stayed at the university to teach, having been promoted to an associate professor with remarkable academic achievements. And William had a double harvest, in both his family and career. He brought his wife and children with him and became the object of everyone's envy. Everyone took turns sharing their experiences and changes, lamenting how time flies by in the blink of an eye. Finally, it was my turn in the toast session. Lucas, the big shot in our major, who didn't know you back then. Switching from the business school to our design institute. Your courage was truly admirable. Lucas, you were so determined to transfer to our design institute for true love back then. That kind of perseverance made all of us old classmates admire you a great deal. Someone chimed in, and there was no lack of teasing in their words. Speaking of this, I still remember the gossip about you, Luna, and Julian. It was simply a classic story in our design institute. These old memories were brought up one by one, leaving me a bit helpless. I had originally wanted to decline the offer of a drink, but upon hearing these words, I still picked up the glass and drained it in one gulp. Seeing this, Gabriel quickly smoothed things over and asked everyone to continue enjoying the reunion. My heart was filled with mixed feelings. In these 10 years, I hadn't continued my studies, didn't have a stable job, and hadn't gotten married either. My world had only been about Luna. Now, I had nothing left. In a drunken haze, I saw Luna and Julian drinking cross-cuffed wine amidst the jeers of our classmates, and a pang of bitterness welled up in my heart. If I had known it would be like this, I would never have chosen to attend this reunion. Lucas, wake up. The reunion is over. Gabriel's voice woke me up from my drunken state, and he helped me out of the hotel. I'm going to the restroom. Wait for me here for a moment, he urged. I nodded in agreement, but the stuffiness in the hotel lobby was unbearable. So, I walked outside to get some air. In a trance, I walked to Luna's car and tried to open the door, but I couldn't open it no matter how hard I tried. A cold wind blew, making my headache even more intense. Just then, the car lock beeped, and the door opened automatically. Out of habit, I sat in the passenger seat. Just as I was about to close my eyes and rest for a while, I heard Luna's voice. Lucas, what are you doing here? There was a hint of surprise in her tone. I looked up at her and was about to explain when I was interrupted by Julian, who suddenly appeared. Luna, I want to sit in the passenger seat. You said I could. Julian yanked me out of the car. I still hadn't sobered up from the alcohol, and I stumbled and leaned against Luna, but she didn't push me away. Luna, Lucas has already broken up with you. It's not appropriate for him to sit in the passenger seat, is it? And the back seat is more spacious. There was a hint of provocation in Julian's voice. Yes, I had already broken up with Luna. At that moment, I became completely sober. I pushed Luna away and staggered to the ground, sitting there. Luna, listen up. I, Lucas, don't owe you anything. They all said I was lucky. If Julian hadn't gone abroad, how could I have had a chance? Yes, they were right, but you know better than anyone why Julian left you and went abroad all those years ago. That year, Luna's family suddenly encountered a major change. Her father disappeared without a trace with his mistress and all the money. Overnight, Luna fell from a high and mighty young lady to the dust. Even her living expenses became a problem. Seeing Luna getting more and more depressed day by day, Julian came to me and frankly said that he couldn't accept Luna like this. He entrusted Luna to me, and then he went abroad. When you were drowning your sorrows in alcohol every day and were in a state of decadence, it was me who took care of you by your side. When you started your own business later and had high aspirations, insisting on your own design concepts, it was me who privately pleaded with clients one by one to secure orders for you. Your mother became extremely sensitive because of your father's affair. She always thought I would do harm and would remind me from time to time not to take advantage of you. When Julian returned to the country and joined your studio as a well-known designer, I knew the studio needed him. Do you think I didn't feel jealous when I saw you two together every day? But I chose to believe in you and our friendship that has lasted for so many years. 10 years, a full 10 years. I've tried hard enough, haven't I, Luna? I've seen through it. I admit defeat. Taking advantage of the alcohol, I finally let out all the emotions that had been pent up for years. This could be considered a real liberation for myself. After saying these words, I felt extremely weak and could only slump on the ground feebly. I thought I would awkwardly wait for Gabriel to come and rescue me, but the next second I was embraced. In a gentle hug, after all these years, your eloquence is still remarkable. Ava, let him go. He's my ... There was even a hint of urgency in Luna's voice. What is he? If I'm not mistaken, you two should have already broken up. Right? Was this person Ava? It was her voice. But why did the way she spoke sound a bit teasing? We didn't break up. Luna, who is usually calm and composed, seemed a bit flustered at the moment. Nonsense. I said back then that you had a bad appearance and would bring bad luck to our Lucas. Gabriel finally came back from the restroom and interrupted this confrontation. Leaning in Ava's arms, I tried to struggle to get up and persuade Gabriel, but I was too weak to do so. Gabriel, Ava, this is a private matter between me and Lucas. I don't need outsiders to interfere. Gabriel didn't pay any more attention to Luna and directly pulled me into another car. Ava leaned close to my ear and said, "I'm sorry for meeting you again in this way." Yes, she had seen me at my most embarrassing moment. "Ava, today is the gathering of our School of Design. What? Are you from the business school here?" As soon as we got in the car, Gabriel started teasing Ava. "It's fate. Do you have any objections? Besides, Lucas transferred from the business school. I can barely be considered his." Ava trailed off halfway through her sentence. Gabriel, obviously, wasn't convinced, and the two of them immediately engaged in a war of words. Just as I was watching them bicker happily, my phone vibrated. It was a text message from Luna. "Lucas, I didn't agree to the breakup, so you're still my boyfriend. If it's because of Julian, he wasn't with me at all that night." I didn't pay any more attention to her subsequent messages and directly blocked her. At this moment, Ava in the front seat said leisurely, "Lucas wasn't like this when he was in the business school. It's just that some girls in your school are not up to par." The irony in these words was obvious. Looking at Ava, who was chatting and laughing with Gabriel, I tried hard to recall the bits and pieces of our past. Ava and I were recognized as the golden partner combination in the business school. People outside always mistakenly thought that students in our business school were idle. But in fact, we were busy with various entrepreneurial competitions. From simple stalls on campus to well-known entrepreneurial events, Ava's and my names were always closely linked. In the face of all kinds of speculations about our relationship from the outside world, our answer was always the same: pure revolutionary friendship. Ava had an extraordinary sensitivity to data and could always spot opportunities from complex data. As for me, I preferred practice and often thought her inferences were too theoretical. When we first entered the school, we often had disputes due to our different concepts, but we were assigned to the same group. After several collaborations, the tacit understanding between us grew deeper and deeper until an event was jointly held by the business school and the School of Design, and all those classmates couldn't come. As the person in charge of supplies, I was alone dealing with the dilemma of transporting supplies in the heavy rain. Just then, Luna appeared and helped me deal with it. Afterwards, I wanted to invite her to dinner to express my gratitude, but she, citing my vote of support in the design competition, praised my aesthetic taste and jokingly suggested that I change my major. Since then, Ava gradually faded from my world because my heart was filled with Luna's image. "Lucas, I'm home." Gabriel suddenly got out of the car at an intersection just as I was about to follow. He held me down and motioned for me to stay in the car. "Ava has something to talk to you about. I'll be waiting for you at home." I was puzzled, but Gabriel had already left quickly, leaving only the words, "Lucas, trust me, Ava is a good person." Was this selling me to Ava? I smiled bitterly in my heart, but I was also curious about what she wanted to say. Compared with the Ava in my memory, who always fought with me, the Ava in front of me was more mature and steady. More importantly, there was a sparkle of love, an expectation for life in her eyes. "Why are you staring at me all the time?" Finally, Ava broke the silence, and her opening remark still had a bit of teasing in it. I leaned against the seat helplessly and let her share the bits and pieces of her life in these years. Before I knew it, I was drowsy until she softly said, "Lucas, I'm glad you're still here." The next morning, I was awakened by Gabriel. "You blocked Luna." I nodded in confirmation. "Good job. That's exactly right." Although Gabriel complained about being accidentally affected, he still handed me his phone, showing me the missed calls and messages from Luna and countless unfamiliar numbers. All the content was asking me to reply to the message about the breakup. I smiled softly, remembering that Monday morning was usually a busy time for Luna. Once I went to her office to deliver something she had left behind and waited until lunchtime to see her. At that time, she came out side by side with Julian, took the item from my hand, and repeatedly emphasized how busy she was on Monday mornings. Now, it seemed that the so-called busyness was just an excuse for me. I put down the phone and looked at Gabriel. I planned to go back to Mochang and start looking for a job again. "Do you have any recommended places?" When I stepped into the interview room and saw that the interviewer was Ava, I couldn't help but feel a surge of gratitude towards Gabriel in my heart, and the words of greeting almost circled in my heart several times. I didn't expect it to be me, did you? Ava smiled, as she flipped through my resume. "Sorry, if I had known it was an interview for your company, I might not have come." I was straightforward. After all, it felt a bit like getting in through the back door, and I was already mentally prepared to be rejected after my career gap. "Don't worry, this position isn't easy." She was straightforward, meeting client needs, frequent business trips. The plan may need to be revised repeatedly, and it requires a high level of stress resistance. The basic salary isn't high, but the performance system is complete, and the bonuses are generous. You can consider it. Seeing that I was still hesitant, Ava smiled and asked, "Do you know why Gabriel recommended you to come?" I shook my head. "It says on your resume that you once worked as a designer in Luna's studio but later gave it up, right?" She brought up my past. Indeed, at that time, Luna Studio was short of staff, and I temporarily worked as a designer. For a while, until Julian joined, I naturally stepped back to the background. Lucas, you're not suitable for pure design work. Her words were direct but also reasonable. I'm not from a design background either, but what has enabled me to gain a foothold in this industry, it's not design skills, but business acumen, she continued. Luna and the others are good at design, but they are not proficient in market operation. Ava handed the resume back to me and said earnestly, finding a stage that suits you is more important than working blindly. Your ability in the market is exactly what we need. Work with me, and you may even have the opportunity to become the client of Luna and Julian in the future. Are you sure you don't want to join? There was a hint of temptation in her words. Hearing this, my eyes lit up. It was obvious why Ava's company had risen so rapidly. She could always accurately grasp people's hearts and needs. I nodded in agreement, and Ava smiled with satisfaction. I knew you would agree. Although the personnel procedures need to be completed, there is an urgent project that requires your immediate participation. The materials will be sent to you right away. Before I officially joined the company, the work was already arranged properly, which made me feel both pressured and excited. The long-lost feeling of being needed and respected filled me with motivation. Lucas, I kind of regret recommending you too, Ava. Now, looking at me, still studying the materials late at night, Gabriel said half-jokingly. This project turned out to be the courtyard restoration project that Luna had always been worried about. Remembering that time, Luna worked overtime for a whole week. I could only learn about her situation from Julian's WeChat moments. He posted photos of Luna concentrating on her work while he made a victory gesture beside her. At that time, I could only send some pale messages of concern. Gabriel, Ava is really nice, I said, seriously. As soon as Gabriel heard this, he immediately perked up. I thought Ava would chat with me about the old days or reminisce about the past, but she didn't. She was more concerned about my work progress and didn't mention anything about Luna. We both understood this tacitly. She cared not about my past, but about my present and future. Yet this is normal. People should look forward. Gabriel nodded in agreement. And Luna is moving even faster. She's almost getting married at Xingshiren. The name made my heart skip a beat. That was the place where Luna had promised to marry me. So, was it originally meant for marrying Julian? I let out a soft sigh, but my heart felt relieved. This was for the best. Everyone should return to their own place and live in peace. After really throwing myself into the work, I deeply realized how difficult this position was. Day after day of overtime work, frequent scolding, and the plans were built and collapsed like sandcastles again and again. And what was more troublesome than the work was Luna. Her messages flooded in like a tide. From the initial urging for a reply to the explanation of Julian's joining and then to the sharing of trivial matters in daily life. Her messages were more than the total number of messages she sent in the past year. Please reply. K. The studio has been working overtime this week, but I want to go to matching to find you this weekend. We have a new member, and we are considering letting Julian leave the studio temporarily. I was wrong. I ignored your feelings, and I will change. I rearranged that old cabinet, and the height is just right. I made sweet and sour pork with pineapples. I know you like it. I remember you said you wanted to keep a cat. I brought a Munchkin cat home. When will you come back and take a look? These text messages were like misplaced time capsules. Every sentence was what I had longed for in the past, but it was also what I didn't need now. In the end, I had to block all the numbers that could contact me. My life seemed to have been reset, and there was a clear boundary between work and life. In my spare time, I walked through the streets and alleys of machining with Gabriel, tasted delicious food, or sweated it out together in the gym, lifting weights to build muscle. Everything about Zhang Qing and Luna gradually became blurred like a distant dream. The changes in Luna's studio, the aroma of sweet and sour pork with pineapples, and even that Munchkin cat had nothing to do with me anymore. I was no longer the person who needed her belated care. Finally, the project bidding meeting arrived as scheduled. I had planned to appear in the best condition, but I was late because I stayed up all night. I walked into the venue looking haggard. Seeing this, Ava couldn't help laughing. This is the Lucas I know. Handsome, you will represent the company to give a report today. I smiled bitterly and prepared to go on stage in a hurry. It was only when I stood on the stage that I realized that I was now in the position of the client. Below the stage, dozens of studios were competing for that courtyard restoration project, and Luna's studio was prominently in the front row. She walked into the venue at the last moment and didn't notice me on the stage at first. When I started the report, a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. I quickly withdrew my gaze and focused on introducing the project. Although the sense of nervousness lingered, I had to stay calm and not let any mistakes affect the team's efforts. The debate session was particularly intense. To gain an advantage, each studio asked sharp questions. Relying on my debating skills from business school, I became a solid backup for the project team and solved the problems one by one. After an hour of intense competition, it finally came to an end. I was parched. Ava timely handed me a bottle of water and gave me an encouraging look and gesture. I knew you could do it. The recognition from my colleagues and Ava's affirmation made me feel an unprecedented sense of accomplishment. Shining brightly on my own stage, this feeling was, too, wonderful, and the peers from those studios also cast their eyes on me. Obviously, I had left a deep impression on them. The bidding ended successfully. Luna and another senior studio jointly won the right to undertake the project. This meant that in the future, I might have frequent interactions with Luna's studio. During the dinner party, I finally had the opportunity to dress up. Gabriel handed me a white suit. I instinctively wanted to refuse because Luna didn't like me wearing a white suit. Memories of the past emerged. I carefully prepared a white suit for that date, but she turned around and left because Julian was also wearing a white suit when he left. Just try it. You'll definitely look good in it, Gabriel insisted. After putting it on, I really looked like a new person in the mirror. I had rarely bought new clothes in recent years, and this suit was the best choice for tonight. As for Luna's thoughts, they had nothing to do with me. When I arrived at the hotel, Ava was already waiting at the door. She teased, "Don't get me wrong. I'm just afraid that you'll be poached by other companies." I smiled and responded to her joke, but I felt her care in my heart. The cooperation during this period made us seem to go back to the days when we fought, side by side, only talking about work and nothing else. "Also, you really look handsome today," Ava said, seriously. While I was grateful, I didn't know how to respond to this sudden compliment and could only smile awkwardly. Seeing this, she led me into the banquet hall. As soon as we entered, we were surrounded by everyone who praised my performance one after another.